Okay, so thank you everyone. This is quite short presentation about what I have done in TransportPCE to migrate our functional test suite to the new REST format, which is normalized in the RFC8040. So next slide. So this is a few reminder about the TransportPCE functional test suites. I already done last year a presentation about how we managed to do some parallelization with them thanks to talks. So you can find more detail about that if you need. So the design of TransportPCE functional test relies on the assumption that we need some black box testing, because indeed we want to be able to test our implementation of OpenRODOM on TAPI in TransportPCE with Open Daylight, but also any other implementation. So they are currently based on Python, the unit test default framework, and also the request library, which it's very convenient for anything that needs to doing HTTP requests and so on. So there is no Open Daylight code inside it, which is a good way to test the Open Daylight implementation. So as I said, this is controller implementation agnostic. On here for the quick demo I prepare, I will use the Open Daylight Carafe controller, which is the default of the community. And it is based on the Sulfur release, which is the last release to support both the old and new REST format. And also the Lighty.io implementation, which is an alternative to Karat. It's the same controller TransportPCE, but with the Lighty build. And this version only supports the old REST implementation, which is called Draft Birman 02. So in the design, we propose in TransportPCE for the functional test. Initially, all the REST calls were virtualized in a command library called testutils, but not all calls REST calls. So there were a couple of codes directly in the test suite, which is bare naked request methods. And these tests were designed by ethical experts. All of them are not software developers, and we have plenty of them. So it can be a long work to make such a migration. We will see more detail about that later. And as I said, they support concurrency thanks to talks, and they can be performed or not inside the Python virtual environment thanks to talks. So I will use talks for the demo as well. So this is the explanation of the direction I have given to this migration based on some opinions that I have. So for me, the run migration to RFC8040 is pretty trivial. See a couple of examples. The real problem is when we have to deal with the payload, and especially the JSON payload, because between the draft Birman 02 the ETF and the real standard, which is RFC8040, I observed that the implementation that we have in Open Daylight change a few things. And especially we have, in many cases, to prepend the namespace of the function in the RPC, sorry, in the JSON payload. So what used to work as a payload needs to be modified, even if it's very near, to work with the new REST request. Based on that, the direction I've given is to still support the old standard for at least two reasons. The tests are designed to be used on any open RODOM or TAPI implantation, not only TransportPCE. On portability, it's a good design criteria, in my opinion, and it can ease future potential migration. And I have one example at the end of the demo. And also, as I said, Lighty at that time was not supporting yet the new RFC8040. A constraint that we have is since we have optical experts, most are not developers, we can optimize the code and we can neutralize some part of the code, but you have to be reasonable so that they can understand how to make the code evolve. And of course, this can be a very subjective criteria. It depends on the skill of the developer. So we had internally some discussion, TransportPCE of the direction to go. And also, the idea was not to rewrite everything from scratch, but to stick to the current design. At least the spirit. But it's really a good occasion to do some refactoring that we have performed during the social release. Okay. So what about the strategies? So we have many tests, and it was pretty obvious that this kind of migration could not have been achieved in one block, so only with one big change. It's currently no full practice to only make one commit with such an amount of mark. So this is a strategy that I use. Since we have a library, a common library called testutils to map the REST calls in a method, we can make a copy of this library and call it testutil RFC8040. And this way, progressively migrate one test route per one test route to this new common library. And this way, we can adapt progressively this library and enhance it with new REST calls. And since we want to support both kind of REST implementation, we can embed in this library, and for each method with an RPC call, two URLs, one per REST format. And we can configure which format that we want to use with only one operating system environment variable. And when we have filling up this kind this library with new methods, we can do some refactoring when it makes sense. For example, we have a couple of specific TransportPCE RPC in our API, and they are all under the /operations URL. And I decide to neutralize them because they have almost all the same format, and it's pretty easy to make one big function to deal with them. And once the migration has been performed for every test suite, we can simply remove the old testutil library and rename the new library to testutils so that we do not burden the code. Any question at this stage? So we are not so long, so many, so I can make a quick demo and answer a question. Okay, so to switch. Okay. So maybe what I can try to show you is that amount of work that has been done. So this is all the tests, the change in grid that were needed to perform this migration. So if you want. So the first attempt here was to simply make a copy of this function. And at the beginning, set only migrate the URL to the new format. And we raise the payload, but it appears that I could easily neutralize the old on the new format. So this was done, the new one. So here you can see the difference. So for example, here we have mapping between the new RFC format and the old one. And the URL are usually pretty similar. Here we have for config, it's replaced by data. And if we want to have the operational data store, we just need to put this parameter. And before we have to use instead of config operational. What more to say about that? And of course, the choice of the URL is done with an environment variable, and it's configured at the beginning of the method here. So we are at the beginning of the URL, which is now REST in the carafe, and used to be RESTconf previously. And this is the variable environment used to make the choice of the REST version. So by default, it is now RFC8040. So this is afterwards. Maybe we can start with the quick demo. This is the end of the demo. So this is a portion of the talks.ini configuration file. So in the sulfur branch of TransportPCE, they are forced to draft Birman 02 because we use, as you can see here, the light implementation. So I simply remove them here, and we will perform a simple test with the PC test, which is very fast, just 1 minute, just to show you it works well. So this is the way to launch Restock's PC test. So I just want to launch a PC test. So it will set up the Python virtual environment, launch the test, and this corresponds to this Python command if you don't want to use the virtual environment. And we can just treat here. So this is the result. So we have this first test that was using the old format, and this is the new one with the RFC8040. So it's a bit longer because the carafe environment is a bit heavier, and this corresponds to the discrepancies that we see. And then we have a test boost version. Any question? Okay. So we can go back to the migration. So when the migration was finished, I simply switch all functional tests to RFC8040. And this is simply a set command perform among all functional test use. So it simply change the name of the package. And we remove the old version. So it's not well detected by the but this file has been simply renamed to test-utils, and test-utils was removed. And as an example, here is how we deal with the Lighty migration in Chlorine. So in Chlorine, we have added to TransportPCE Lighty support, and indeed the URL was using a different prefix. So for the sake of the demonstration, we added simply the new URL here. And we have added lighting to all method used. So now we have a method for each call to RPC transport PCE test. So this is a big improvement. And also, as I can show you, here, for example, the transport PCE internal API are all using one function. So you just need to specify the namespace of the API module, the name of the RPC, and the payload as parameter to this function. And depending on the way you are using the new format, the payload will be prepended with the namespace. So this is done by this function. So this is a good trick if you have to perform such a migration. You can use an easy function like that to have only one payload format in your test and just add the necessary material to perform this request in the JSON payload. And indeed, when you look at the detail of the RFC8040 RPC, the prefix in the URL here is not is up to the implementation that you have. Indeed, it's not normalized. They advise to use res by default, but lightly use /resconf, but it's perfectly okay. It's supported by the norm. So we can simply do a simple refactoring to just keep only the two URL here and just modify the prefix depending if we use a light implementation or not. So this simplified a lot the test util command library. So I think we can go back to the presentation. There is no question. So conclusion about all this work. So this was a long work, but the sulfur release train was really a good opportunity for us to bring more portability and robustness in our test design, because as we have seen at the end, we can now easily add the new REST standard in this test suite, and we don't need to modify the hundreds of tests that we have. We just need to modify the command library on the function use. We have observed that there are still many controllers in the wild that use the old draft Pierman 02 format. So if you have such a migration to deal with, there are a lot to bet that they will migrate as of step to the new RFC standard, which is an official standard on Autodraft. You have to take this work seriously because it's not as trivial as you can be as it looks. It's not about the URL, indeed, it's more about the payload and the implementation that you use on all the namespace stuff. Thanks for attending this session. Any question, feedback? Sangu is coming. Okay.
Okay, is there one more? Oh, we lost one. Is any final questions? If not, I want to drop a quick reminder that if you did not register for the event, please do so. It is free. You can find that link directly on the main wiki page if you go to wiki.lfnetworking.org. It really helps us understand how to better suit the needs of our community. There is also a operations survey going around. We are asking everyone to please make sure that you fill out the operations survey as that will also help us be planning for our future events here in 2023 and 2024, as well as give us some insights in managing our communities. The next session is a break, and we'll be coming back at 7:30 Pacific. If there are no more questions for Guillaume, then thank you very much for attending, and we will see you in the next session.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thank you.